the Gosman Center on the campus of Brandeis University in Waltham, Massachusetts. It's the NCAA Fencing Championships only on ABT. Tonight, you get to see the best fencers in America as we are watching the NCAA Fencing Championships for 1994.
Head coach Bill Shipman, Nina Bennis, Justin Burmeister, Kristen Fulmer, Doreen Manovitz, and Amanda Sacker. From the University of California at Santa Cruz, head coach Peter Burchard, Matthew Brody, Brian Gabriel, and Terrence Lee.
This is the procession of the fencing teams participating in this 1994 NCAA Fencing Championship. Brian Covell from Brandeis University is on the public address.
From the University of Chicago, head coach Janet Steblowski. Team member Y. Jen Yi. From Cleveland State University, head coach Joe Fazekas. Team member Beth Eggleston. From Columbia University, co-head coaches Dr. Aladar Kogler and George Kolumbatovich. Team members Robert Conway, Grant Dawson, Stephen Kovach, Albert Lau, Tim McCutcheon, David Roy, Eric Pulaski, and Raymond Wong. From Fairleigh-Dickinson University, head coach Jennifer Zester-Desay. Team members Sentine Dokagan, Melanie Jones, Pierette Kalter, Jennifer Murray, and Allison Stagg. From Harvard University, head coach Ben Zikovic. Team members Charles Bertrand, Mei-Ling Burney, Brindisi Chan, Sarah Krasen, Victoria Danish, Kristen Hughes, and Kwame Van Leuven. From the California State University at Long Beach, head coach Joe Redmond. Team members Max Hannevetter, Gordon Bartlett, and Stan Rogers. From the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, head coach Eric Soleil. Team members Renee Despinos and Keith Leighton. From Michigan State University, head coach Fred Freehite. Team members John Flynn.
John Horrigan joining Terrence Gargiulo. And Terrence, as a former fencer, what are we seeing right now for our viewers at home who are not accustomed to seeing fencing? This is a procession, is it not?
Well, these fencers work hard all year, and at this time of the year, they look forward to being recognized nationally in front of all of the rest of the athletes. So they're processing out, and this is just sort of a tradition at the NCAA Championships.
Dan Migden.
Tonight, what are we going to see? What are the events on the docket?
Tonight we'll be seeing men's sabre, which should be a really exciting final. Sabre is a very fast and furious weapon. We'll try to explain it as we go along so it becomes a little clearer. And then we have a very interesting women's foil team final. We have Penn State, which has two fencers from the Soviet Union, both of whom are actually vying for spots on the U.S. Olympic team. And Penn which will be a little bit weaker of a team, but they are fencing well today, and it should be a very good match.
Terrence, tell me a little bit about your fencing background, who you fenced for, and tell our folks at home what accolades you reached as a fencer.
Well, actually, it's kind of a pleasure to be here tonight because I am an alumni of Brandeis University. I fenced for Brandeis University and graduated in 1990. I attended this tournament 4 times, was All-American, IFA Eastern Championship, and I've been a member of 3 Junior World Championship teams, and I'm just really proud to be here and see Brandeis fencing today, and proud that Waltham is hosting the tournament.
How is fencing doing on a national level as far as funding and interest, participation?
Fencing participation is really starting to grow. It's very exciting to see. A lot of the clubs around the nation are becoming much more involved in getting young kids at the high school and elementary level involved. Nationally, we are also becoming much stronger in the sport in terms of our international results. So the Olympics should be exciting to see how our training and how some of our new national goals will actually end up. But the sport is starting to grow. And if anyone is interested in fencing in the Boston area, there is a club in Watertown. It's located on Walnut Street, and it's called the Boston Fencing Club, or the Academy of Fencing, because there are classes there, as well as a competitive club. So once again, that's the Academy of Fencing in Watertown, where you can take classes and or watch some competitive fencing there in the evenings.
Johanna Pasquariello and Karen Wolf.
What are the dangers to injury? Obviously, people look at fencing and they think, oh, you're going to get stabbed. That's not so because of the padding. And also, I see one of the students participating in this tournament has some sort of foot injury, so there is a lot of stress and strain on the feet as well as the chest area.
Well, we're lucky in this sport, although it seems really violent and we're reenacting a duel in which people were actually killed with sharp objects, the number of injuries in this sport are minor. And the type of injuries that you frequently will see will be turned ankles, frequently sometimes sprained knees, sometimes jammed hands from or small cuts on the hands from being hit. But by and large, the safety equipment that we use prevents any sorts of injuries, and the injuries that we see are few, and they typically tend to be a sprained ankle or something minor of that sort.
All I've heard when I walked into the Gosman Center, by the way, this is a fantastic facility. It's a multi-purpose facility used for basketball for Brandeis, but there's been concerts here, there's been speakers here, there's track here, indoor baseball, and now, of course, the Fencing Championships. Tell us a little bit about how conducive fencing is to this facility.
They've done a wonderful job. Brandeis is incredibly proud of this facility. For 3,500 students to have a facility of this sort is absolutely unheard of. It's state-of-the-art. Not only is it state-of-the-art, but it has an incredible amount of adaptability. This tournament has been very well set up. We're using the outside rings of the track, and the strips are set around along the perimeter. The lighting is excellent. All we've gotten is compliments from all of the various teams from throughout the country in regards to how happy they are to be here at Brandeis and how impressed they are with the facility. So I think Brandeis and the Waltham community in general can be really proud of really a national facility.
I walked into this place and all I heard was Penn State, Penn State, Penn State. What's up with that?
Well, Penn State is, I don't know what to say other than they are one heck of a team. It's going to be really hard for them not to walk away with the national title this year. But there are a lot of other good teams here. They have 2 very strong coaches, and they have excellent recruiting. They get a lot of fencers from the Soviet Union, and they also get the strongest fencers from the high school system, and as well as students who have been fencing competitively at a national and international level. So they are definitely the most experienced and seasoned team. But they should not put in the limelight a lot of the other strong teams that are here, and we hope that a couple of teams will be able to contest them.
You mentioned some Soviet fencers. I noticed when I went over the pronunciations with public address person Brian Koval and with Jack Malloy, the SID and Associate Athletic Director here at Brandeis, who incidentally has done a fantastic job. I noticed, though, a lot of Hungarian and Soviet fighters, Eastern Bloc fencers. Why is that? Is fencing strong in the Eastern Bloc?
Well, I think there are two reasons. One is fencing is incredibly strong in the Eastern Bloc. Secondly, we have a lot of coaches that have come from the Eastern Bloc and now are coaching at these universities. So they maintain a lot of their ties with their former countries, and as a result, they are able to bring a lot of fencers here. And because of the excellent schooling in the United States, these fencers are dying to come to the U.S. and receive an excellent college education. So that's one of the reasons why you see a lot of the Hungarian or Polish or Russian names. A, the coaches are from those countries, and so they are able to recruit them. And B, the athletes themselves are more than anxious to come to the U.S. to receive schooling.
Let's talk about, as far as the Olympics go, what is the best that the United States have done in international competition in the Olympics?
In terms of the Olympics, we've had a couple of medals. Once again, I'm not entirely versed on the entire history, but I do know that there are 2 or 3 instances in which we've won medals. Back in the 60s, back in 1984, Peter Westbrook of New York City dazzled us all with a remarkable performance, earning the bronze medal in Los Angeles. Of recent, that is our best result in the Olympics. And I think back in the 60s and earlier in the century, there were some other medals. But we are a newcomer on the block, and the U.S. is certainly not a powerhouse in this sport. But we're beginning to make real headway, and we're looking forward to 96 and 2000 to really begin to break into what has once been considered a European sport and to make a mark for ourselves.
Terrence, we're seeing the NCAA Fencing Championships here. First of all, can you tell us the schools that are participating in this? And second of all, how did Brandeis land such a prize as this tournament?
Well, there's a really long history that goes into how someone qualifies for this tournament. They fence dual meets throughout the entire year with schools from throughout the country. As we look around this room and as we watch this processional ceremony, we can see schools here from Pennsylvania and on the eastern seaboard, as well as all the way from the West Coast. This is the NCAA, the Division I National Championships. What you're seeing in basketball right now is the type of championship that we are experiencing right here in Waltham for fencing. So it is the Division I NCAA Championship, and as a result, we have schools from all over the country here. And Brandeis, at the regional championships, was able to qualify, and most of these teams qualify through a regional basis. So that's how we got here.
You talked about Brandeis. Their big gun, or their big swashbuckler, their D'Artagnan, as it were, is a guy by the name of Mike Mayer. Tell us a little bit about him.
Mike Mayer has the distinct honor of actually having the highest finish in any NCAA championship of a Brandeis athlete. I must take second place. My best finish was 5th place at the NCAAs. Mike last year really did a wonderful job and took 4th and was All-American. Unfortunately, as a result of some injuries, as a result of a really busy school schedule, he had a really bad tournament, a regional qualifying tournament, and was unable to qualify for this tournament. It was a surprise to us all. It was a great disappointment to him. But he fences saber, and he would have been in the saber competition tonight, and he would have been one of the contenders to win, but unfortunately, there's only one day in which you have to perform, and if you don't perform on that day, you don't qualify for the tournament. So we are disappointed not to see him here, but Mike has had an incredible career here at Brandeis, and we're all very proud of him.
Well, they're wrapping it up, Terrence, the opening ceremonies here, or the procession, as it were. As you can see, I'm a novice. We have several schools represented, and academically these schools are so superior. As they're introducing the officials right now, the NCAA, who I might mention have been very, very accommodating. Joe Redmond from Long Beach State. These people have been very nice to us here at ABT, and we'd like to thank the NCAA for giving us permission to tape this fencing bout.
Brandeis alumnus.
Okay, we've got 3 categories of fencing: foil, saber, épée. I'll be the first to admit, folks, I am a novice when it comes to fencing. Although I did fence at the intramural level at my home college of Bridgewater State College. But tell us a little bit about each event and what it requires to participate in that event, as opposed to who's different. This guy participates in the épée as opposed to this woman who participates in the saber. How would it be different as such?
Okay. Let me start off by saying a little bit about the épée, which is the weapon which is most like the dueling sword. When you see this épée, the épée, unfortunately we will not be seeing any épée fencing tonight. It is looks like a dueling sword. It has a large bell guard and a thick blade, and in this weapon the entire body is target. As a result, it's very exciting because the first person hits gets the touch. So it's a lot like First Blood, or it's a lot like a duel. Back in the olden days, they needed to practice with sharp weapons. They did not have the type of weapons that we have today. So they needed a practice weapon. But unfortunately, these weapons themselves were also very sharp. As a result, they needed a set of rules, or they needed a way of practicing without killing each other. That is the modern evolution of the second weapon, which we will be seeing tonight, which is called the foil. And the foil has the blade is a little smaller, it's a little lighter, and the bell guard of the weapon, and perhaps we'll have an opportunity to show you these weapons up close a little later, is smaller. The third and last weapon, which we will see tonight also, and that will be the first final that we watch, is sabre. And the sabre is a reenactment of the cavalry sword. And in this weapon, it is a cutting weapon as opposed to a thrusting weapon. Let's listen to a few words of Jeff here.
Yep, Jeff Cohen, the athletic director here at Brandeis University.
I'd like to thank two people particularly, without whose work this would not have been possible. One is our coach, recently voted Coach of the Year in fencing, Phil Shipman. The other, our Associate Athletic Director and head person of this fine event, Barbara Bickford.
Barbara Bickford, who's helped out. Jack Malloy, Brian Coble.
Great fencing, stay healthy, and have fun.
That's Mr. Jeff Cohen, the athletic director here at this fine and prestigious institution in Waltham, Brandeis University, doing, again, a stellar job hosting these NCAA Fencing Championships for 1994. Well, Terrence, what will our viewers expect tonight to see? What are we seeing? We're seeing a team competition.
We're going to start off with men's saber individual competition, and as I said, saber is a cutting weapon. It's really fast. It's very exciting. It's going to be hard to tell what's going on, but we'll really try to walk you through this. Final. In the individual competition, these guys will be fencing 15 touch bouts, and it's an individual competition, as I said. The second final that we see will be the women's foil team final. And once again, Penn State and University of Pennsylvania will be the two teams vying for the gold medal there.
Great. We're looking forward to it. I tell you, folks, my name is John Horrigan. I'm joined by Terrence Gargiulo. Terrence is a former championship fencer. He has participated in this tournament, as he stated several times before. It's going to be tough for you watching at home to understand the sport, but trust me, Terrence will be here to guide us, folks. This is an interesting sport. It's a sport full of steeped in tradition and rich in nostalgia as well. As you said, it goes back to the hand-to-hand combat days of the swashbucklers of yesteryear.
There's a lot of emotion to this sport, and I think you'll definitely see this. You'll see the athletes get very excited. You'll see some of the coaches get excited. It's also very demanding on the referee, who has to, in many cases, within a split second, make a decision as to who got the touch, who actually got the hit. That's going to be the most confusing part, and we'll try to explain it as best as we can. And I think as you watch more and more of it, it will become more clear to you, and you'll begin to find a favorite. I will recommend that when you as you watch, to focus on one fencer and one fencer only. If you try to watch both fencers, it's going to be a little bit too fast, and you may not be able to see what's happening. So pick a fencer, and put your bet on him, and then watch him with your eyes, and watch his feet, watch how he or she moves up and down the strip. Sometimes try to watch what they're doing with their weapon to see how they're cutting, or how they're thrusting, or how they're beating the other blade, and then watch the lights to see who actually gets to hit, what lights actually go on. And we'll explain the lights as we begin to start the finals, explain a little bit how this electrical equipment works, and how we're able to tell actually who scores a hit or not.
So, stand by for the 1994 NCAA Fencing Championships, only on ABT, and we'll be right back after this. John Horrigan back with Terrence Gargiulo, and also our director, Peter Boriskin. We're getting ready, Terrence. What's going to go on now into strip number 2, I believe, to our right?
To our right, on strip number 2, we're going to have the match for 3rd and 4th. This actually might be a pretty exciting match. These teams are very, very closely matched. We have Fairleigh-Dickinson University, which is out of New Jersey, and we have Notre Dame University, which is, of course, the Fighting Irish. These teams are very closely matched. I anticipate that this will be a close match. Now, these matches are up to a total of 16 bouts. However, the first team to win 9 victories wins the match. But if the score could go all the way up into 16 bouts, meaning it would be tied at 8-8, in which case we would have to look at how many touches were scored by one team or the other, and that's how they then break the tie. But we can explain that once that actually happens. It doesn't happen that often. So the 2 fencers are being hooked up, and the director is checking the weapons of the fencer from FDU.
What are they checking for?
They're checking for a couple of things. They're checking the weight on the weapon. The weapon is very interesting. The tip of the weapon has actually a spring inside of it. That spring, when it is pushed down, must be able to push back up 500 grams. And the reason why they do this is that tip of the weapon, they want to make equal among all the competitors. If that spring is too light, John, what's going to happen is the weapon is going to go off too easily. It'll give one fencer more of an advantage than the other. So that's one way that they make things a little equal.
So we've got Notre Dame on the left, is that right? And we've got Fairleigh-Dickinson on the right. Is that the way that the fencers are?
Yes, that's actually to our left is FDU, and to our right is Notre Dame.
Okay, so the Notre Dame.
And Gata, Rachel Yanakar, and Megan.
So we are getting ready, and once again, this class is
Women's foil. This is the foil is the weapon here. As you look, you can see that they are wearing metallic lames. In fact, if you look, we see the fencer on our left is Kalter. She is from FDU, and that metallic-looking vest that she's wearing is the valid target. In other words, a valid touch or a score that will count for a point will only be one which lands on that surface. We will know whether a touch has been scored on that metallic surface when a colored light. In this case, if we look at the box, John, we'll see that there's a green light and there is a red light. If Miss Kalter is hit, a green light will go off. Now, you'll notice that there are 2 lights. There's a white light and a green light. The white light indicates any touch that is hit on any surface other than that metallic vest.
Pierette Kalter, as Terrence mentioned, from Fairleigh-Dickinson. She's to the left of your screen.
And now we have the match starting. Garde is our director. She's from Oregon. It's a very challenging job to be the referee for these matches. As you'll see, the actions happen fairly quickly, and they need to make a judgment call very quickly and decide whose touch that is.
Terrence, Corinne Dougherty is fencing for Notre Dame. Now tell me about it. Corinne Dougherty, 110 pounds. Pierette Kalter, 121 pounds, 11-pound differential. Does that make much of a difference in fencing?
In this sport, size does not make a lot of difference. This is a very physical sport, but it's a very mental sport, and there are different ways to use one's body to one's advantage. Someone might be a little faster than the other. There we just saw Pierette score a touch. That red light means that Pierette hit the fencer from Notre Dame. The score now is 1-1. So, no, to answer your question, size really does not make a lot of difference. There are different body types, and you'll see a lot of different ways that people fence.
Terrence, I'm looking at the scoreboard where there's a lovely young lady attending it. There's just a 2 up on the scoreboard. And Pete, you don't have to get that, concentrate on the match, but if you look at the scoreboard, what does that indicate?
I believe that at the moment is indicating the score of this match. I think that woman is standing up there. I could be wrong. I don't. Yes, that is indeed. Thank you very much. The score now is 1 for Notre Dame and 2 for Miss Kalter, Pierette Kalter from Fairleigh-Dickinson University.
So Kalter, and now what happens if you come up? I'm a left-hander. When I used to fence, and they hated me fencing me.
Southpaws, I'm telling you. Southpaws give everyone a hard time. They just line up a little bit differently. They respond to things a little bit differently. It's kind of like boxing. They can be harder to fight, or in this case, they can be harder to fence.
Right now, Pierette Kalter has a 2-1 lead over Notre Dame's Corinne Dougherty. Now, the official just checked the headgear. What happened there?
The athlete was just adjusting. You know, this mask can oftentimes be very uncomfortable, and she was just adjusting to make sure that her mask was on tightly, because the last thing we would want to happen is for that mask to fall off. So you'll see the fencer is kind of nervously, constantly adjusting their gloves, adjusting their weapons, adjusting their masks. These are just all ways that they stay concentrating.
Both lights go on there, what does that indicate?
That indicates that both fencers did not hit the metallic vest. They both hit off target. There is no touch scored in that instant. Now you can see this at the beginning of the match. They're kind of being a little cagey. They're being real careful, trying to fill each other out, determine what the reactions of the other fence are going to be. It's a little bit like a chess game. You want to figure out what does your opponent want to do.
There's the arc, the contour on the foil being held, especially by Corinne Dougherty from Notre Dame on the right of your screen.
Okay, that arc is just a little bend in the blade. Fencers like to have a little bend in the blade, so if the blade is too straight, it's hard for them to hit some of the more difficult targets like the shoulder. If there's a little bend in it, it's a little easier for them to direct the weapon to some targets that are a little harder to hit. So you'll see fencers with medium-sized bends, never a dramatic bend, but there's always going to be a little bend in that blade.
We're looking at strip number 2 in the Gosman Center, the Red Auerbach Arena. Actually, they're on the basketball floor. Now, looking at the strip, okay, can you describe the areas, the demarcations as such, with the as we have a touch there?
Great. Yeah, we just had an off-target light. The strip is made of a metallic surface, and that is because those strips are copper. And this way, if one of the fencer's weapons hits the strip, no light. Remember, we said if they do not hit the lamé surface, meaning the vest, that a white light will go off. In this case, having that metal strip prevents any white lights going off if they indeed hit that strip. There are hatch patterns at the end of the strip indicate a meter left to the strip. So when the fencer looks down, they can see, I only have a meter left before I fall off the cliff. And there's a line in the center marking the center of the strip, and then 2 what are called unguard lines, which are where the fencers begin after a touch has been scored, and at the beginning of the bout, obviously. There was a beat attack from the right, and it was off target. We just saw the scorekeeper actually stand up to indicate that 3 minutes in this first match have elapsed. Let me say a little bit something about how time works in these matches. The matches are 4 minutes long. At the end of 3 minutes, a warning is given, and the time is stopped every time that the director calls halt, or any time that a touch is made, the time stops. So it's kind of a stop-and-go timekeeping as opposed to a continuous clock like you might have in soccer.
Pierette Kalter, right now from FDU, is starting to walk away with this match.
Yeah, she seems to have a pretty commanding lead. I think Notre Dame's a little nervous here at the beginning of the match, and we'll see if she's able to get back in this match. But at the moment, Pierette is certainly commanding. Pierette just hit off target. Once again, you'll see one fencer making a thrust and another fencer trying to make a riposte. There, Ms. Kalter scored the final touch, winning the first bout for FDU 5-1, and now FDU is ahead 1-0 against Notre Dame for the bronze medal.
Pierette Kalter at 121 pounds for Fairleigh-Dickinson, 5. Corinne Dougherty at 110 from Notre Dame, 1 in our first team match tonight, a bronze medal matchup.